Loading and transporting logs is a high-risk activity. When loading and securing logs, drivers need to minimise load movement during transport, prevent falling logs and causing serious road accidents and trauma. You also need to meet your obligations under Work Health and Safety, Occupational Health and Safety Acts, and the Heavy Vehicle National Law to ensure safe transport. And always ensure your own physical health and safety. This video presents some key information to help you safely load, secure, transport and unload logs, including knowing your truck and your loads, important safety protocols, the roles and responsibility of truck drivers and loader operators for building and securing good loads, how loaders and drivers can work as a team to ensure successful load transport. Safe, well-constructed and good-looking loads comply with load restraint obligations and improve the safety of our transport activities. They also present a positive image of your industry to the public.
As a driver, it's important to confirm the product order and loading destination. And you can do that by confirming what's on the log stacks when you arrive on site for loading. Also pay attention, logs do come in various shapes and sizes. It can be length, short, long, or random like they are in this case. They can be tapered too, which means they're small at one end and quite big at the other. You need to keep in mind also that there are several hazards on site that affect driver and load safety. From a driver safety perspective, that can be the amount of light on arrival on site. Ground softness, holes on site all affect slips, trips and fall risks to the driver. But when it comes to load safety, those same things can have an impact too. Ideally, we want a firm and flat ground for the trucks because they can affect scale accuracy. If there are any hazards, we do ask that drivers report them to the loader operator or their supervisor so they can report them to the forest owner. As a driver, you have an important part to play on loading quality and transport safety. First of all, because your safety is most at risk if something goes amiss on your journey. Secondly, you are the one that will get the negative feedback on the road or at the destination for poor loading and/or load security. You really need to be careful and not leave the landing if load construction and weight are not meeting requirement. And when I say requirement, what I'm talking about is mass, dimension and load restraint aspects. During loading, drivers need a safe place to observe the loading of their vehicle if they're not able to be in the cab while being loaded. Refer to your forest company and employer's policies and procedures as to whether you can be in the cabin and on the determination of safe zones while your trailers are being loaded. Drivers should be out of the truck when it is safe to monitor loading and communicate in a timely way with the loader. Drivers must be familiar with not just the route gross limit, but the combination's legal axle limit for the given route being used. Drivers need also to ensure they don't let a third-party loader operator bully them into taking loads that don't meet mass and dimension requirements. And if that happens, you do need to raise the flag and let somebody know and not leave site. We try our best to produce quality logs, but they are a natural product. And we understand that sometimes also logs may be stacked and ready for loading that just don't meet customer requirements. So drivers can assist us by checking logs and checking they aren't reject quality or broken during the loading process, so that only logs that meet customers' specifications leave the coupe.
Be always sure that your truck and trailer configuration can safely restrain the logs you are going to collect. Always do a walk around your truck and trailer to make sure that your load can be restrained and secured properly. Always be mindful that log loads can change between hauls. Know your maximum vehicle mass log lengths, hardwood, softwood, everything can change from a daily basis. Also know your vehicle and know your load heights. As a driver, it's always important to do a walk around your truck, make sure everything's safely loaded. Don't be afraid to pull up your loader driver, make sure he's putting it on properly. If there's anything sticking out, he can adjust it. Make sure your crowning of your load is adequate for what you're hauling. Always make sure your straps are safe, the way they touch every single log when they go over the top. It's also an important factor to make sure your winches are working properly and in good working order with your straps not having any frays, breaks, anything like that. With the different log lengths, some loads can be high, which raises your rollover threshold. It's also with the weight of the timber. If you're hauling older wood that's lighter, it's always going to be higher. Also the mix, if you've got fresh wood mixed with the older wood, it's going to create a larger rollover threshold too.
Okay, Chris, you've just constructed this load here. Tell me about how you've done it from the floor upwards.
So we've put the bigger logs on the floor, obviously the heavier logs then for rollover threshold, and then we've just slowly built up the sides to keep it all nice and level until we've got to a good crowning on top. It's always crucial to have around that 20 to 25 degree crowning, just so all your straps are touching. Everything looks pretty from the back then, and yeah, nothing's hanging out the side, obviously, making sure.
So we have random length pulp log. One of the things I did notice is yourself and the truck driver communicating very well. Truck driver's in the cabin.
That's exactly right. So yeah, we've always based our safety on truck drivers being in the cab so they can see each side down the side of the truck. Communication's critical when loading pulp log because there's so much potential for things to hang out the side.
And when he was a bit overloaded, he simply asked you to take a log off to get it back.
That's exactly
legal.
right. So.
And then communication between yourself and the driver, he went down the back, noticed a log out the side and you've stitched it up. So that's all part of a good
It's all
load.
part of it and part of our chain of responsibility.
Righto, so after a load, always walk around, make sure everything's right. And more importantly, always check on the way to town. After you come off the gravel, walk around, make sure you haven't got any flat tyres, make sure you haven't got a strap that's forgot to turn on, or make sure everything's happy days.
Andrew, what's one of the most important things about loading?
Well, first off, we've got to make sure that the loading process is not rushed. Every load must be safe to leave the landing and it must be constructed properly. So to do that, we need to take our time and get it right.
So when we're loading the logs, what's some golden rules to having a nice stable load?
Well, in the saw log situation, we start with the biggest logs at the bottom. We minimise air gaps if we can. That brings the height of the load down. We make sure that the bays don't interlock and stay well within the pins. There's no material outside of the pins, all parallel, and proper crowning on the top of the load. With rear overhang, we have to make sure that the load is reconstructed firstly to make sure that we minimise overhang, and if needed we need to flag it with a red or yellow flag. Yeah, but the real idea is reconstruct the load so it's good to leave the forest.
Okay, Andrew, Joe's done a great job of loading this truck here. What makes a good load in this particular in these particular logs?
These particular logs, you can see that Joe has put the larger diameter logs on the bottom, minimising the air gaps as well, and a good 20 degree crowning on top of the load, which I think this is the perfect load, perfect bay.
You've got different species of wood, different size of wood, different lengths of wood.
Yep.
One thing I'm really impressed in here is the way you set the coops up to ensure a good load. It's a real challenge for these loader drivers. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So the thing with this kind of operation is everything starts with the harvester. When the harvester operator's doing his bit properly and building good quality stacks, the same as if a forwarder operator is building good quality stacks, the loader can put a good load on the truck. And that's the key. Load
Load restraint starts with load construction, and load construction starts with stack presentation. So the operator here will start with all the long lengths off the harvester. He's running 2 stockpiles at the moment, one either side of the loading excavator. One stack will end up on the truck large end forwards, one stack will end up on the truck large end backwards. And that way, as you're building the load on the truck, you don't end up with excessive taper on the load, and you can make sure that you get the weight in the correct locations on the truck. So when the driver or the loader operator turns up to put the load on, he'll have a quick scan through the stack, work out what's in front of him, and he'll grab out some really good quality logs to put in the base of the load as a floor. And then he'll put a couple up either side of the bay and then build like a cup, and he's going to start putting wood into that cup. And as he's building the load, he's putting good quality large logs on the outsides of the load, and then putting all of the smaller, more scraggly pieces into the center of the load, working his way up progressively up the pegs until he gets close to his target weight. When he's getting close to being full on weight, then he'll pick some really good quality logs out of the stack again and use them on the tops of the load to build the crown and to cap all of the undersize or all of the smaller pieces into the center. So today I'm here with Andrew Barker, one of our subcontractors. He's come to this job to grab a load of native longwood. So do you want to tell us a bit about the landing, what the different stockpiles are, and your truck and your loading process and things? What can you say?
I'm in a 6-axle configuration with a Kennedy folder scale. Pulled up here to get a load of longwood native regrowth. We've got 2 heaps, a butt forward heap and a butt back heap, and a nice good flat platform with good vision over the trailer.
Yep. Do you like the elevated landing position on these steep jobs?
I do. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, nice and easy to see the load.
It does, yes.
Yeah. It can be a bit difficult on terrain like this to get your landings set up right with the truck and the loader position and the incoming wood and stuff. So sometimes you do have to spend a little bit of time and effort in creating a good pad for the excavator to sit on. So when the driver's building his load, he's on a good stable footprint and he can see what he's doing. So that's really helpful here. What's the process with loading? You've got, this is the butt back stack and that one's the butt forward stack. Is there anything particular you're looking for when you're picking through the stack for a load of logs?
Usually first up is trying to find good strong ones for the bottom so we can lift it off safely.
Yep.
And then sort of pick out the better ones for up the side to keep it all inside the stanchions, and the rest of it in the middle.
One of the important things Andrew mentioned here was the quality of the floor and the sides that he puts on the load. The key reason for that, as well as from a load construction and restraint perspective, when Andrew gets to the mill, he's going to be lifted off in a single lift with the machine. The loader that's going to take this bunker logs off this truck will take the whole lot in one go. So if we've got poor quality timber on the bottom or the sides of the load, as he lifts that up at the mill, as the wheel loader operator takes it, the load could fall apart, and that'll result in truck damage and all kinds of burdens for the guys at the mill to then pick up all that timber. So by ensuring that you build a good quality load back and sides, bottom and sides, you can make sure when the operators are picking that load off at the mill that it won't fall apart and there's no risk of anybody getting injured or any equipment getting injured by the load falling apart.
We need to be aware of the limitations of onboard mass systems and scales. These can be affected by the road surface. So before you leave the loading site, double check the mass on a firm surface if necessary. We may need to allow a settling time for scales to read accurately. Understand the procedure to remove logs if the truck is loaded over mass. It's really important to take opportunities to check and calibrate onboard mass scales against a regulated and trusted weighbridge.